Hi everyone, my name is Harvey Arnone. I'm the City of Seattle's interim GIS and CAD manager, and I'm here today with my colleague Catherine Wendland to do a demonstration and presentation of our application that we call Field Operations Mapping System. And we built this for the Seattle Public Utilities, primarily their field crews. Now, if you've been around for a while, you might have seen me demonstrate this application up to maybe even a decade ago. It's been around for 12 years. The original version of this application was based on Bing Maps, an older Bing Map control. And so one of the reasons that we took this project on to redevelop FOMS, or Field Operations Mapping System, was to modernize the underlying technology and bring it into current standards. We're using for this now the Esri JavaScript API. There were also some new requirements that SPU had. For example, they wanted to extend the application from the city proper out to the watershed, where they have quite a number of crew working. They also wanted to make it accessible in the field. The old version was only accessible internally inside the firewall. Now it's exposed to the outside. Users, of course, will have to authenticate. It's not a public-facing application. It's meant for City of Seattle and SPU, Seattle Public Utility employees specifically. This application fundamentally is a situation status application. So Catherine will show you in her demonstration. The SPU users can see where all their vehicles are, where the infrastructure is, where their work orders lie. And if it's an event like a heavy rainstorm, where we have some ponding, you can see where the customers are calling in reports of complaints or ponding or whatever it might be. Now, I want to do a quick call out to the team. There was really a long list of people who were involved in developing this application, but the core team consisted of Sylvie Phoenix, the Seattle IT project manager, and Catherine Wendland, who's presenting with me today, our GIS analyst, and Toby Semrock, not here today, but he's our Seattle IT technical and lead developer. And then other developers were Karen Lai and Emery Horvath. The project sponsors, of course, Seattle Public Utilities, field operations, and the watershed in particular. So with that, I will hand it over to Catherine. Go ahead, Catherine, and take it away, and let's see the demonstration. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Catherine Wendland and I am a GIS analyst with Seattle Information Technology. One of my main roles is to kind of be the tester, trainer, end user liaison on a project. So it was my pleasure to do this for Field Operations Mapping System, FOMS. And one of the cool perks of that role is that I have gotten to go meet a lot of our end users and find out exactly what they do so that we can make the application really work for them in their situation. So what I'm going to show you guys today is a couple different scenarios of some typical users that use this tool. And the first user I'm going to show you is a CCTV truck operator. So for Seattle Public Utilities, we have two lines of business, drainage and wastewater and drinking water. The drainage and wastewater team has a crew of people who check the pipes to see if there's any damage, like cracking, a broken pipe, or roots growing in, things that they can catch early so that they know if they need to go do a repair before it gets worse. So the way that they do that is they go into a maintenance hole with this robot. So they literally sit in their truck with an Xbox controller that controls this robot, and it has a camera on it that can look around in the pipe, and they go and inspect if there's any defects in there. But we have tons of different size pipes, and for a different size pipe you need a different size robot. So our crews use FOMS before they go out into the field to see what's the situation where they're at, which robots should I bring, is it going to be big enough, what's it made out of, all that kind of stuff. So those are the questions we can answer with FOMS. So here it is. It's a web-based application. You can get to it from any browser and inside or outside the firewall. So you can see here we have a lot of options. Seattle Public Utilities, like I said, it has two major lines of business, and within those lines of business, there's tons of different ways that people use the tool. So we had to make it as versatile as possible and customizable. So you'll see here we've got a bunch of options. I'm going to touch on some of these, but for now we're going to pick the drainage and wastewater default layers as a place to begin. So you'll see in the layer list on the side, we've got a ton of kind of some of the most commonly used layers, and we also have like a lot going on the map, even from this far out. We've got these circles and triangles that represent work orders, and we also have the drainage and wastewater vehicles that we can see where everyone is right now. So if I'm a CCTV operator and I want to see what am I doing today and what do I need to know about my area, the first thing I'm going to do is filter out these work orders. Right now I'm seeing everybody's and I only want to see mine. So let's go over here to work orders in the filter and assign to, I can choose my name. So I'm going to choose a friend of mine, Ju Kim. And there we go, that cleaned it up. So he works in the north end. I'm going to zoom in to the north end of Seattle. He's got some work down in Capitol Hill and a bunch of work up here in Northeast Seattle, kind of Sandpoint area. So let's say, hey, I've got the biggest cluster here. I want to see where I'm working. And there's also another feature. If he is signed into his vehicle, oh, this is someone else, but they'll show you what we're talking about. We can see all of the work orders that are assigned to that person. So if I were to click on one of these, it will zoom me to that work order and we can start from there. So let's just say, hey, it's one of these. I have a bunch of work on Sandpoint Way, so let's say I'm going to try to hit all these today. So let's start at the first one up here. We've got a work order and we've got our pipe infrastructure. So what they typically do is they will go, represents a maintenance hole right here. They will open that maintenance hole, drop the robot down carefully, and run it down this pipe. So let's click on the work order. He can see any information about that work and even jump to Maximo from here. So what's really cool about FOMS is that it integrates tons of different work systems that are already used at the utility and brings them all into one place where they can kind of one-stop shop, see all of those things that they need to know for their day. We even incorporated Google Street View. So let's say he's, they've got really big trucks and they've got to kind of close off the street. So he might want to see what's it look like down there? Is there going to be room for my truck on the side of the road? How much do I need to close off the street? So it just gives them a sneak peek on what's to come for that day. So great, but the main thing I want to know is, hey, which robot do I need to bring? So we can click on the pipe and find all this information about it. The pipe width is 8 inches, so hey, I'll bring my 8-inch robot. Perfect. And like we were showing before, he's got work all the way down this street, so he could click and just make sure that all of them are 8-inch, or see if he'll need to change the robot. So he can do all of that research before he even leaves the office in the morning. Now, another thing that's really popular about this tool is that we can customize the layers. So for Ju, he really only cares about the main lines. So there's kind of some clutter on this map he might want to change, and maybe some other layers he'll want to add in. So let's pop over to layers and sessions. He may not care about catch basins, trash racks, yeah, whatever, we don't need that. Side sewers and laterals. So now you can see it's kind of cleaning up what we've got. We've just got these main lines and the maintenance holes. But hey, there's also some things that aren't on here that I'd like to see. So we can add other layers from this layer list. We've got tons of different ones. And we can even pop over to the water line of business. A lot of our drainage and wastewater crews still like to see the hydrants. They make a good reference point that you could see above the ground. And hey, let's add traffic cameras. Cool, so I've kind of customized, I've added some layers, I turned some off, and I really like the way that I've set this up. This is how I want to see it every day. So we've also created session saving. So he can come over here and doesn't have to do that customizing again. So let's save the session, to Kim default, and save. There you go. So now let's pretend it's the next day. I want to come back to the same thing I did. You can either pick up where you left off, or if you had a saved session, come on over here. So we've got Ju Kim, and let's open it. And here you have it. Let it load up a bit, but we've got some of those layers that we turned off. We've got hydrants and traffic cameras added, and we even still have work orders filtered by assigned to Ju Kim. So that's kind of the typical workflow of one of our in-city crews. But what's a really cool enhancement that we added this year is we expanded this same technology to our watershed. So let me just show you a little bit about our watershed. Here, way east of Seattle, like 100 years ago, whoever in Seattle was forward thinking enough to purchase a bunch of land east of Seattle that includes this entire watershed. So we get most of our drinking water from an area east of Seattle that we've purchased. And part of Seattle Public Utilities work is to keep that area pristine and keep our drinking water safe and keep the infrastructure going. So what we see here is where a lot of our drinking water comes from. It's called Chester Morse Lake, and these are the big pumps that that are pumping water down to Seattle. So some of the work they do is maintaining the roads that go around the watershed or around that lake. So sometimes in the winter that could mean clearing trees. In the summer that could mean clearing brush that grows up here. They do a lot of like wildlife maintenance and just a lot of cool nature stuff. So it's a very different different mindset, I guess, from what they do in city, but it's very important work that they want to manage and visualize in a map. So let's do that. So here we are. This is the watershed version of FOMS. We're going to pick the Cedar River watershed default layers. So they have, like I was showing you with that road, rather than a lot of point work orders, they have linear work orders that involve like cleaning up different roads. So we created these new work orders for them, and they've also got their AVL, their different cars and trucks, mostly trucks, honestly, if you're out here in the wilderness. I'll just quickly show you. This is what we're looking at. It's like the most pristine, beautiful hiking area you've ever seen, and it's all protected. Like they don't even allow visitors unless they're with like a supervised party. So they, yeah, so here we go. Let's show you what we've got. We've got this is kind of their little headquarters over here. But just like in city, we've got their special layers. So another big thing they do is culvert cleaning out. Because it's so out there in the wilderness, we have emergency response like helicopter pads and stuff just in case. Let's see, what do we want to add here? How about a no hunt zone? That's a good thing to show. Hey, we definitely want to see the roads. Snow measurement. you get the idea. The transmission pipeline, here's all the stuff that is specific to the watershed that they need to know. Maybe I added too many things, honestly, but it gives you a picture of what we've got. So all of these like colors over the roads are road work orders, but like we can do in the city, we can turn things off and on, toggle them so that it's not in your way. And we can do our research out here. We even have, because it's like a wildernessy area, we have an elevation profile tool. So I'm going to go peak to peak here, and it'll show us the elevation profile. And it takes a second. There. So, we went from 4,500 feet all the way down to maybe 2,500 and back up again along that line. So you can see it's kind of the similar thing that we're managing work orders, but we added a bunch of things that are very specific to the watershed. And here's the pipeline. You can see here's our watershed out here and the pipe, this blue pipeline that feeds it into the Seattle area. And we also have a second watershed up here, same thing. So yeah, that's how we support Seattle Public Utilities with field operations mapping system.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. That was great. So before we close, I just want to show real briefly here how FOMS operates on a phone. It's done with responsive design, so it's the same web application, but the field crews can go in on their phones. And although this is, there's a URL up at the top, it's not intended for public use. It does require authentication, and only Seattle Public Utility staff can log into this. They can choose drainage and wastewater from the startup, the drinking water distribution, or the water transmission. I'm going to pick up where I left off, and you see it remembers my layer on and off settings. So we can go to the map, and here I am. It also remembered where I was in the city last time. We're looking at the vehicles here. Here's one vehicle that looks like a crew chief vehicle. Yes, it is. And it shows it shows he's traveling 41 miles an hour south. That seems a little fast on that road. Um, we can also pick one of the other vehicles. I think this is a Vector truck. Yes, a Vector truck, and they are parked. They're moving 0 miles an hour. We can see the work orders that are associated with those. Those work orders come out of our Maximo system. And we can also open Google Street View to their location. Maybe I'm going to go out and join them. I'm going to bring them some equipment so I can see exactly, where they are, and I can anticipate, what the parking situation there. In this case, it's an alley, so not good parking situation. Okay, so some of the other things that we can do in here is we can filter for work orders. So Catherine showed the filters in the regular desktop implementation of this, and it's the same filtering, the same work orders, same Maximo data source, but we have, since this is a phone, more of an abbreviated set of those functions. And since Catherine went through those, I'm not going to repeat that. But we can do it for drainage and wastewater work orders or water work orders, and then also the AVL, the GPS locations of the vehicles. So we can, for example, just turn off, all the we can just look at all the CCTV, the inspection vehicles. And then now if we go back to the map and zoom out, we're only seeing those CCTV vehicles. It looks like they're all stopped working right now and doing inspections. Okay, so there's more limited functionality because it's a more limited platform, but just getting, excuse me, just getting the data out there to the users, to the field crews is very impactful. And in fact, the last thing I'll show is they can go and they can see the drainage and wastewater. That's what I'm showing right now. System, the maintenance holes, the main lines, and there's a lot more data that I could turn on in addition to this. And they can also I clicked on a mainline pipe, for example, and get all the information that's associated with that pipe, upstream and downstream depth, invert elevations, width, asset ID, and so on. All right, with that, we'll close. And I thank you all for your attention today. And we have left a few minutes available for questions at the end. Thank you.